And so why would you get Gara? Well, currently she's still new player and beginner friendly and extremely versatile as well. Can do any mission without much trouble, and essentially acting as a great early safe net, so you can have time to learn how Warframe works in general. Get used to the pace and the speed of battle due to her useful abilities that makes her very hard to kill. And they will allow you to control the space and set your own demands, basically. On theory she is supposedly a defensive frame, but can do a ton of damage and rival at times the best DPS dealers. But for that later. Plus she doesn't have very hefty mod requirements at all, actually. If you ask me if she's the easiest she's to build, to get first to build, she's probably not. Rhino still holds that position, but if you invest some time into her, the payoff I think is definitely huge. She's very good early, mid and late game, and her prime should come out this year as well, so something to look for. As for the acquisition, I guess this is the second section I'll talk about. You basically start on Earth after your initial like introduction and tutorial part. You can visit every one of these nodes if you'd like to, or the ones that are like a vault. And the first open world is on Citus, and this is where you basically get Gara. And my advice is, this is the city, this is the actual free roam section. My advice is, if you can like explore as much as you can the missions you do, don't rush. You'll get a lot of resources and requirements that you should like should make your life much more easier, and if you can do multiple things as well. Well, that like when I say go and farm Gara, just don't constantly try to get the blueprints if you don't the different parts, not the blueprint. The blueprint is rewarded by quest. So start on Earth, do some nodes, open up setters, we'll visit it, so I can show off stuff. Do the initial quests on the open world. Every one of the 3 current open worlds have one. Then go visit Venus, Mercury if you will. Do some of the missions here as well. Visit Fortuna. Big advice, very important advice. Visit Fortuna after you reach this planet, so you can get a K-drive or like a hoverboard, whatever you want to call them. It will make your time on the open worlds much more easier. You will travel a lot more like faster. You don't have to bullet jump and walk around. And then maybe you, at this point, you may just focus your time on getting the different parts of Gara. They're done through bounties. There are 5 different types, or tiers I guess we should call them, even though they don't have such name, I think. Obviously 1, 2 and 3 are the easiest. 4 and 5 it will be very hard to complete them as a new player, but the first 3, I think, depending on how stubborn you are and how you've progressed, you probably can do them. Highly suggestion, do it on public if you have trouble. Don't be the person that is like reluctant to go in public with random people. It's not bad, it's actually very useful. A lot of people just gonna help you without issues, or they wouldn't say anything basically. So when you come to cities at night, this time around, visit Konzo. This is the main PC that is responsible for the initial quest. You get the blueprint when you visit him the first time. It's a small quest, not very challenging. You will probably do it without issues. And you reward her blueprint, the parts from the different bounties. These are basically the tiers. I know they can be confusing. You can look at the levels. So this is the easiest, 5 to 15, or tier 1, and then tier 2, tier 3. Each one of those reward Gara parts, in this case the chassis for tier 1, the system's blueprint for tier 2, and for tier 3 is the neural optics. The chances are actually pretty high. I don't think you will have like a long prolonged grind, and plus the bounties on cities are one of the best in terms of getting very useful mods that will help you in early, mid, even late game. A lot of the mods you can get, auger mods, gladiator mods, sets, they're very helpful even late game, so absolutely worth to do them. So you got the parts, what you do next? You're like, yes, I got the parts, and I'm just gonna build the Warframe, right? Well, unfortunately in Warframe things aren't as simple as they first look, initially look. So to make or to build the parts and then the Warframe, you would have to get resources. Most of the resources you require, or I guess the hardest to get, should I say hardest in quotes, are from the open world, and even you can actually get some of them by just doing the bounties. For example, in this case, for the chassis, the Cetus is probably gonna be the hardest one to acquire. They're usually found around lakes at night. The corporate copperite alloy is a mineral. You would have to take a mining tool. I will show that. I'll show you where to get it, I guess. It's again from one of the NPCs, it's not something complicated. And then just go outside and look for markings. They're shown, I'd say visible to a degree, it depends. Irradiate you get from bounties, they're just around the place. Rubedo from other sections on the star chart. For the neural optics, I'd say, what is the hardest? Maybe pyrotic away again, the mineral that you will have to use a mining tool. All of these, by the way, all the minerals that are required, I think, yes, one more was required. All those 3 minerals are found on this place, on the open world section. Neurals you find on the star chart when you do missions and explore. You will have to see on which planet. Grokdru is on this planet, on the open world as well. Circuits, I think, on Venus. Missions, nodes for the systems. Morphics might be the hardest, I think. There was on Venus or Mercury. The shark electroplugs. This is this is the fish. One fish, you have to fish one type of fish. And before you like start getting worried, all those mineral mining and fishing are not as scary as you might imagine. Because at least when I was doing them, I was worried that it might take some extreme amounts of time to achieve them, but they're completely doable within maybe an hour or two, within a day, or maybe 2 if you don't spend like an hour looking for mineral spots or the fish. So The tools, let me see if I remember the NPCs. Usually I think there is naming under fisher. Obviously you go to the fisher. Browse wires and pick whatever one of those. I should have mentioned that you get them by the number 500 is standing. You get that by doing the bounties where I shown with Konzo. You complete bounties, you get standing. So then you have basically money or experience. In this case, standing in Warframe is basically experience and can be used as a purchasing, as a money basically. Pick one of those. I guess it doesn't matter. I think Wanzo fishing was the one I took for that fish. You might want to get one of those so they illuminate the water. And maybe if you're like in trouble, one of the baits. But I think you probably gonna get them even without them. But if you have requirements, if you have trouble finding, I think it's also very like popular type of fish. It's not something rare. After that you come out to the NPC here and she opens up the fish. You get the materials. As you can see, there is a catfish option. And I even have some of those types. This is the resource for the fish. It's not overly complicated, but it can be if you haven't done it in a game like that before. So this is the mining NPC. So you get an awesome cutter and you start going outside. Something I forgot to mention, go at night. During the day you have a lot of troubles with grenier enemies, basically flying, shooting, and that you will have a very hard time either mining or fish. At night it's much more calm. For the mining portion you would have to spend a little bit more standing, because as you can see there is a Asher Devar blueprint which makes the Devar the Devar into Asher Devar basically. You get Devar from mining, and you, through buying this blueprint, you make it Asher Devar on your ship in the foundry. So this can be a little bit more confusing. You're like, okay, I get the materials, why can I just right away build the part? Well, the short answer is because it's Warframe and it tries to complicate things, which aren't as complicated as it might seem. It just on the surface look a lot complicated. So those are, I think, are the 3 that we require for Gara. You might have to do the because the standing has a limit per day. I see 5k here and 5k here, so you might have to do them in like 2 days. But then again, in Warframe you really have to look to multiple things at once, or like spread out things in a way, so you just don't like commit entirely to one thing and try to do multiple things. So you build, for example, get this blueprint and you're done for the day. You don't have to like wait for the next day to reset to start over. You might do it like in a couple of days later, or just do something else, like explore another node, etc. Find another weapon that you want to build. Don't focus only on one thing. It can like ruin the whole experience of Warframe very fast. So you've gotten those, all of those, well, basically not all. You just need the mining tool and the fishing tool. And then you go outside. You don't have to be on a mission or on a bounty. You don't have to, you can go solo. It's preferable for mining. And at night, what a convenient moment to do it. At night it's much more calm, as I mentioned. You don't have to like constantly be shot from all around the world. Flying ships and whatnot, enemies, some of the there is very little aggressive creatures on the plains, actually, like natural aggressive creatures. And yeah, you go outside. Let's see, let's select the mining tool. You have to equip it here as well, and they usually make sound. You just go outside. You can see on the minimap on the top left, you can see those markers actually indicate that there is a mining spot. They both can be blue or red. If you want to be precise, you have to hold and wait to hit the middle part. That awards a little bit more minerals, I think. Or at least it used to. If you're like I don't want to bother with mining this stuff, you can just be very fast and just hit it once and be done. As for the fish, you go towards some water area. You can open your map and see where water regions. I think this fish is a river. It's not on the seaside. Also, good advice is if you see this little this caves, you can find a lot of obviously mining spots. If you don't just want to be on the open, where it can be a little bit more, it takes a little bit more time, I guess, exploring around. So you go, you pick a spot around somewhere, whatever you like, basically. Some water spot. This looks like a good spot. Maybe I've gotten here the fish. Pick. This is not for. This is for Venice. Pick the Wanzo, and you start fishing. That's about it. But as I said, the die is on the right screen, so we can throw one, and there you go. This is the types we need exactly. They are not rare, as I said. Gara is not a hard frame to get at all, and she's basically so rewarding. I think I don't have anything else to mention here, so let's go on I guess some builds. I'm gonna show some builds in the simulacrum. And I'm gonna show obviously some early and I guess maybe not super hardcore late game builds, but you probably have no issue doing, for example, stupid missions with the current set I have, current build with Gara. Let's visit Cephalon Simaris, and we're gonna go to this basically, I guess, test room. It is what it is, and I'll show you how to be pretty awesome with Gara without much I guess mod requirements or like a hefty amount of setups. One thing I have to mention, and something that I think a lot of people don't often do, is don't max your rank 10, especially rank 10 mods. If you have rank 10 mods, don't max them out right away, or don't try to max them right away. It's a lot of resources wasted. You're then limited to using those mods and in a way that it can like it can be troublesome for other Warframes to use. You would need to format them, etc. So what I'm gonna start with, I guess I'm gonna start with the beginner friendly-ish. This is what you look for. This is what I came up with. This is what you look for as a, let's say, beginner to maybe mid-range. It depends how you play or where you are or how much trouble you have. Out of those mods, I think flow and continuity are the hardest, definitely, to get. The other four, you're probably gonna get them without much trouble. They basically come out by playing the game. They're very, very popular drops, meaning they drop all the time. Continuity and flow, you will probably have trouble, but you can always flow, use the flawed version. That they're weaker, obviously. This, for example, is only 20% and this is 30. But hey, I mean, what can you do? This is Warframe, so if you want better mods, you have to grind. There is no fast way. And plus, if you want, you can use a lot of the augur, gladiator, etc. you got from the mountains. They're very on Earth, not augur. They're like extremely good and used all the time, even late game. So for example, for those two spots, you can put message or reach, more range and a little bit more duration, which both are pretty good. As for the Aura SWAT or the Aura mod, I suggest you probably get some Nightwave crits. I think it can be a little bit confusing because I didn't show that, but there is this section on the ship where you get Nightwave crits by doing certain daily objectives, we should call them. And in one of it's a weekly rotation, so you don't have to worry about it. You eventually gonna get this thing, but energy is something very, 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 very tough to come by early on. I think it maybe at some point rebalance because it's very hard to actually utilize a lot of energy early on in the game. And Energy Siphon is one of the very few mods that, together with Flow, which gives you more capacity, basically. You can have a lot more like reserve. And with this, even if it looks a little, you're early on as a beginner player, you don't have to worry about it. You're just gonna be spending quite a lot of time looking around, so in the end it will fill up your energy. Otherwise, the other two which you can get from the same place are the regeneration, which gives you a little bit of health regeneration, and this one just gives you physic, just a flat out increase in HP, which early on I guess it can be useful, but I don't think it's that great. So this is another alternative, because this is the required polarity actually. She have a Verazin, I think was the name. Let me check, yes. But then again, I suggest this one. Definitely this one. You will notice if you play enough. Another suggestion, if you don't like the, obviously, if you're not sure if you want to spend a reactor to increase your capacity, as you can see I have 65. The Aura slot also increases your capacity, but if you don't have a reactor to put on your Warframe, you can, I guess, remove or use versions that, as I said, are flawed or not maxed out. For example, I think you'd have hard time maxing out this one, or even getting it to rank 8 is quite a lot of endo and credits. So get them to 4 at least, or 6. That will give you a little bit more points if you're not sure you want to commit to this Warframe, but I highly suggest, if you do, just put a reactor and have fun with it. So this is more beginner friendly, as you can see. Let's see how this is more I guess towards like a late game where you can have arcanes, or you can have you probably would have opened the school, so you can use the Xenoric school for energy. Those are two other alternatives, and so you wouldn't need the energy siphon aura. As for the other, what can I say? This is towards more intermediate and late game players. Prime mods come from Baru tier, a trader that comes every 2 weeks, and you can get those so-called primed mods, which are basically a better version. As you can see, it have much more energy from the basic one. You can get them from this trader by selling prime parts from opening relics. Again, my suggestion, don't max this stuff out. You will be limited on using them on this Warframe or the one you like the most, and then you would be forced, unfortunately, to use Forma to lower the capacity, so you can use them on other Warframes, and it makes your life a lot more harder. What else do I have here? I guess I've put Spectre Siphon. This is... I guess I have to go through the abilities as well of Gara. This is very important. I probably should have started with that. But this is an important mod for her third, which makes a lot of energy, and I'm gonna just leave it like that because I haven't explained the the abilities and her passive. As for the late game I'm using, I think this is with a helmet, yes, in snare. I've used helmet. You can, with helmet, this is coming out much later in the game. You can replace one of your abilities with another Warframe. Vaulted abilities. Not every Warframe, not every ability of every Warframe, but one ability of each Warframe can be used on another one with this helmet system. I've used chorus in snare, and I don't think it's very good, so don't use it. In my mind it made sense, but in reality it doesn't. I'd suggest Mirage Eclipse, or I think Pillage is great on Hildren. As for something else that's different, yes, I'm using Rolling Guard. This is a very important late game, especially on Steel Path mod. You have, if you max it out, it gets to 3 seconds in vulnerability. I'm fine with 2. I guess it's more challenging, and I'm not. And again, as I said, I'm not a fan of maxing out stuff right away. Just limit your options and usage on other Warframes. I see Reflex Guards. I've found out about this one later on. I thought it's gonna be good, but you have to be very stationary, and it takes time, and some enemies don't fill up combo count very fast, so again, it's an option. Otherwise, building combo count with Gara is not as crucial as other Warframes, but still I keep it. The other things are pretty much the same. But let's go through her abilities. The first thing that I should have done. So her passive is actually very useful early on. A chance to create a radio blind lasting 10 seconds when exposed to bright light. You're gonna end up seeing this quite often. I thought it was like very mediocre, but early on you blind enemies non-stop pretty much. Or not non-stop, but very often it just pops up quite often. You're gonna notice that. Shattered Wash. This ability is basically used in a combo. Gara is sort of... It have a very like, I guess, straightforward playstyle. You use her ultimate. You break her ultimate. I'm gonna show it with her one. And if you have this on yourself, it's a shoot. Splinter Stone, or on an enemy, or on an objective, or on an ally or your pet, it increases its damage. I know it's a little bit confusing, but we're gonna come to that. Her default is... I should have gone with... with this variation, because it showed me the one with the helmet. Her third is Spectre Rage, and this one early on is very bad. You probably... a lot of people I've seen consider it like a very bad ability, and if you if you see it like if you test it like with very little range, you basically just gonna wonder what it does at all. But it's probably one of the best late game abilities in the game, and you can use it on any other Warframe because it's one of her subsumed abilities. But I guess we're not talk about it while we play, or I guess we show up stuff. So basically, this is her too. You usually start with this one. It does damage with those little glass pieces that fly around you. You can cast this on your ally or pet, or even on enemies, on objectives which are inanimate, and it gives you 90% damage reduction with only intensify. You don't need more than 30% strength. There you go. Damage reduction, the second from down. This is probably one of her I guess most used abilities. You basically, with this ability, you can have extremely easier time with I think pretty much animation type. Definitely one of the more versatile Warframes, as I mentioned earlier. The 90% damage reduction, even though it might seem extremely like good, late game starts to fall off. And when you face, for example, stupid enemies, you would have to be a little bit more like mobile and use mods like the aforementioned rolling guard that gives you invulnerability. But yeah, so you basically, what you do, so okay, this is how you play her. You basically go around, cast your ability, it destroys what it touches, everything. You can actually go around and you don't have to stop and open up lockers or break them. It breaks them for yourself. You'll be playing a lot of this style. If you're defending an objective, you're going, for example, you want this spot to defend, you cast your 4, which is this big low of glass. And it also glassifies enemies within itself when you cast it. You're invulnerable when you cast that ability, which is very helpful as well. You can jump up and cast it in the air, which makes an extremely huge wall, and I suggest you get used to that. It's extremely helpful. If you hold the aim button near you, slow down slowly. You can defend, as you can see, extremely large areas. If you catch enemy, they are glassified, and also make the hardness of the glass even tougher. And as for the combo, so basically what you need to do is, do you see the damage? 325. This is what my stats with the mods give me. The 25 is the I guess the initial start. When you cast one of these big walls force, you can tap 2 times to stop the increasing of the size, so you can make a small, and go outside and use your one ability, your first ability, like this. With holding you can also shoot. It increases, you can see it went to 25k. This is obviously a late game build, so you won't go to 25k, but 25k damage is extremely, like it's a lot. It kills a lot of stuff. And this is how you play her. You basically go, cast your 4, go outside, break it, but I forgot to cast my 2 obviously. So let's repeat, cast your 2, go outside after you cast your 4 and break it your 1. You can do this multiple times until you like drop your 2. It have a, basically you can see the timer in the top and the bottom right. Now I have about less than 8 seconds to recast my 4, which should refresh the 2, but it didn't. In this case it didn't, because it's probably a little bit buggy. But let's do it again. So cast 4, go outside. Let's wait it out to 20 seconds. Cast 4. As you can see, it reset the cooldown of 2. Do this again, and you can do this until you have energy, until you get, like for me, for example, you like forget to cast 4 to reset your 2 because there's too much action. And this is how you basically play Gara and do a lot of damage if you want to be like the damage type of Warframe. I guess in this case with Gara, if you want to do damage, that's what you do. And let me show you the beginner build. I guess it doesn't matter, but actually I am with the beginner build, okay? How you do those numbers? You basically need a stat stick, and this is becoming a little bit more in-depth. I guess I'm gonna show you how you can do it with basically any type of weapon. Let's go with Broken Ore. This is a weapon you get by doing quests and progressing through the game, so it's not something you have to farm or spend a lot of time form up or put in catalysts or whatnot. I think I made a beginner build for Broken Sword. Gara stick, I think it was this one. Was it this one? Maybe it was this one. Let me look at, yeah. So what you need, you can see any of those mods are like relatively easy to get. Those 4, for example, the 4 elemental, you get them by just playing the game. As I said, you get Broken Ore by playing the game, by just finishing quests. I think you should be probably finishing those quests for those weapons around maybe mid game, maybe early game. It depends. You can be like very early MR, you can be MR5 or MR7, or maybe even lower if you're like very fast. I guess it depends how you play, but any of those mods that, as you can see, that I'm using are not something that is hard to find or to grind. Maybe focus energy, it's from, I think, nightmare missions. I think this might be a little bit tougher, but as I said, you can put something else, for example slash mod. So what you need for stat stick, or like basically any weapon can be stat stick for Gara, is a lot of damage and slash, or I guess it depends. If you use, let me show, if you use this one for your first one to break your fort, your ultimate, the big wall of glass, this is slash. So if you use this one, you put glass mods on the weapon. If you shoot like this is just tapping the ability. I know it's not very visible. It shoots, I think, like a piece of glass or something like that. This one is a puncture type, so you need something with puncture, but I suggest you do this one because the slash arc actually can hit enemies and they fall down or tumble. So yeah, if you want puncture, or if you're not a slash type person, which you should be, you should put instead of slash puncture damage type. So it's a very simple. It's very simple to make a stat stick of any type. Basically, you can pretty much make any weapon stat stick for Gara. It's not something hard. It's not something tough to achieve. I just think it's not very like popular, maybe, or maybe not. People don't like the style. In general, Gara is just very like like goes under the radar. But let me show you. She can do a lot of damage with just a weapon you get from doing the quest, the regular quest, completing the story. You can see. I think it was like, yeah, 8.5k. So this is pretty good. I know it's not 25 in one in one break of the fort, but still it's pretty good. Especially early to mid game, you wouldn't need to do like extremely high damage. You don't need 30k, you don't need 5 millions of damage to kill enemies. Those are like more for the late game and steel path. With 16k you can probably kill pretty much basically anything, and I guess let's actually test it out. So as I say, this is beginnerish towards more, I guess, mid-game type of build. There you go. Level 145, this is my maximum. There are different types of corrupted type of enemies. And then let's simulate. Get some energy. Cast your 2. Let's show how hard it is to be killed. They should be killing me much more faster because they are high level, still not a steel path. As you can see, they break through my shield. Then let's cast 4. As you can see, they are glassified. Break it, and let's see with 8k how much. I think I should be, yeah, it should be a little bit slower, especially versus the armored guys. That shoot very fast, and they're like in groups. You can see they're like tougher. Let's cast it again and glassify. As you can see, they're dying. Only 2 casts. So those are tough enemies. They don't die fast. As you can see, it takes a while. Let's cast one more. Oh, better. Maybe around 10, 11, 12 ticks. Obviously, you don't have to just rely on your shield. You can shoot, which can make things faster. I just don't wanna use, because I'm using a pseudo weapon, which maybe people won't be having. I guess it depends where they, but maybe not everybody will have a pseudo, so I don't wanna use it and kill it. But those are the tougher out of the all enemies that are left. And as you can see, after just a couple of casts, I think I didn't count, but I guess we can calculate. They shoot fast, so you should be careful. Don't kill me. Let's get some HP. I'm using the operator. A little bit unfair player, but as I said, those enemies you won't see you want to meet as a beginner or intermediate player. Those are towards more late game. Actually, even in late game, in a regular start chart, I think you won't be meeting them. I think the toughest you can meet is level 120 if you fight a leech, go leech. So yeah, basically I don't think you're gonna see on the start chart enemies as tough as those, and you can see this is a beginner friendly type of build. Just a couple of casts and you just have to keep it up, that's all. And I guess that will be my beginner friendly, new player friendly Gara, and why she is the best friend to build as your first after the starting tree. And hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully it was clear enough, not very long or prolonged. I haven't done any of those types of videos, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. I guess comment, etc. And thank you for watching. Phew. I probably missed a lot of things I had to mention. I should have started with showing the abilities. Maybe I should have suggested a good starting weapons, but I think this is a little bit out of topic. A little bit too out of topic. But yeah, I wish for example, I would have loved if I knew how Gara sticks were working early on, or mid-late game, like whenever I had the block and sword. I wish I could have known about how stat stick are built, or how she is useful to make a lot of damage. Because it's really quite simple. Actually, it's not very complicated. It's not as horror as advanced as it's horror, at least I think so. Even without those two mods, it's still you can do a lot of damage. Like early on, like a level 60, 50, you're gonna kill them really fast. You're gonna rock the world. Sadly, I didn't know that. Yeah, she's a great Warframe. Hopefully more people catch up on her. Okay, let's return how it was. I should remove this this ensnare one day for something else. Probably Bleach. I was thinking about it, but maybe. And the Joe sword. I guess I should have shown the hyper late game with a Riven, but I think people are not fans of Rivens. They're gonna see it oh no. At least I showed the damage it does. I think it was 25, or was it with another sword? Yeah, maybe it was with something else, but as you can see, the difference is very small. Yeah, you can even go with this. I think I probably should have shown this one. This is super beginner friendly, even for the level 20-ish, 30-ish. I think this is super good. I probably forgot to point that out. My bad. Life strike is very important early on, because you wouldn't have a ways to heal. And just slamming enemies with heavy attacks is the way to heal. That was weird. Just going like this. Is how you heal yourself early on. Kind of stupid, but yeah, what can I say? There isn't very many options. And how much damage is that? Very simple. You can probably do this right away after you like build Gara. And if 4.5k, that's pretty good for level like 20ish. That's actually pretty good. Obviously you can do it with any sword. I've used the Joe sword here for just for reasons because it's more convenient, but you can basically put those for mods on any sword and do the same damage. Yeah, hopefully more people start playing Gara. Early on, Rhino is very good Warframe, but you might have some issues with some missions. I remember a player around my time which have issues early on with Rhino. Rhino is good Warframe, good starter Warframe, but it's not Gara at all. It doesn't give you that much freedom and time to react and protect mostly stuff early on. You're gonna fail a lot of missions just trying to protect stuff. And Rhino is not a protector, and you wouldn't have a good weapon to shoot. Maybe you would have a decent melee, but only melee is not good enough early on. Even though it kills a lot of stuff, you'd still have to go towards the enemies. And with Gara, just casting her 2 on something, on whatever you like, it makes life so much easier. Even if it starts to die, you just cast your 4 and even have like a second layer of defense. Also, I didn't talk about her third. That's the default one. I forgot about that one, even though I said I'm gonna talk about it. But it's like it's very crappy early on. It's actually very crappy early on. You would like, it's not that it's crappy, but it just doesn't have a purpose. You cast this thing and it doesn't do anything. You're like, what happened? So I casted this thing and so I cast this thing here and it gets destroyed. Like the enemies goes there and they shoot at it and they're not dying. What does it do? What's the purpose? And then bam, it's gone. So why do you use this thing? Why do you even use? If you see the default range, I think the default range is basically 1. It's the size of 1 enemy, which is quite funny. But if you have like a big range, I think around 900, maybe 200% range, it becomes a lot more bigger. Like, well, not like quite a lot. Let me see. I guess I can equip Gara for this. I think she have. That's weird. I think she have pretty maxed out. Pretty much this is the maxed out 32 shoots or something like that. It still gets destroyed really fast. But what makes it like great is, don't kill me. You grouped up enemy with your 3 in this case, with 2 in this case with Gara. Then you melee some of them, then you do this, and you can see a lot of energy dropping out of those guys. And that's why it's pretty much amazing late game. It's pretty much like a lot of people just, I guess, pass by it because they maybe don't know about the augment. I've seen some Zaku player use it. He was doing like a ton of energy drops. Like he just go around, cast this, kills the enemies with like 16, 17 guns in his like with his 1, or was it 2? and it drops a ton of energy and you can do just continuously. Plus another thing, it's instantaneous. It's one of those abilities that's like, well, it's not super instantaneous, but there is a little bit of a, when I cast it, there is a little bit of a stuck animation where you can die, where you cannot move, like maybe half second. And it doesn't cover horizontally, it doesn't cover like or vertically I should say, it doesn't cover a lot of if there are enemies, for example, up there, they are not shooting the glass. They have to be like within a, I guess, this range, maybe a little bit further. So if they are up, they are not affected by it at all. So it have its issues. It's not like super safe. As you can see, I was having trouble even versus these enemies surviving. Even though it was casted, they can deal with it pretty fast. And I also don't have any defenses on this Gara build. As you can see, it's gone, I think, yeah. They deal with it very fast. But this is another Warframe, another build. So I just wanted to show how powerful this Gara third ability can be late game, even though it's mediocre everywhere else. Like you just wouldn't be having like time using it. Maybe a little bit towards mid to late game you can, like, suddenly I remember playing with Gara and I was like, okay, I wanna use a station for something. Would that be for more like for excavator or something? You want to refuel air on survival mission, you just drop your tree, they are distracted for a little bit and you like defend the excavator or use air for the survival or whatever, or you want to hack something, just cast it, spend 5, 6, 7 seconds to hack the console. You have enough time, it's fast. It has its issues, like uses. But you probably rely much more on Gara's 2, 1 and 4 combination, which will be enough for that, like for basically anything. It makes me sad that such actually like a decent ability starts to shine late game. But hey, what can you do?